Hi there, great to see you. I'm Jenny Kirk, welcoming you up here to Wear Yard for another episode on the rebuild of Wear Yard. Now, the previous four have actually been quite dramatic, really taken a hammer literally through the scenery over the Jablite mountain area and have radically rebuilt all of that. We've also taken some time to rejig some of the track work, which has opened up some extra running possibilities. And this is something I think a lot of people can sympathize with. You build a layout and then you spend a whole period of time operating it and thinking, I could have done that better. Oh, actually, if I'd have just put a piece of track there, then that would really open operational interest up. And actually, take a leaf out of my book. Eventually, you've just got to bite the bullet and get to work. And as you can tell from the beaming smile, I am thoroughly enjoying the process as we keep on going, completely renewing this loft layout around me. Now, we've concentrated on Jablite's Peak, and I'm actually quite pleased with how that's turned out. One of the big things is freeing the track at the front from the tunnel, and actually now it just goes under a bridge and is completely in the open, and it's joined by that extra track which allows that fourth train to go round on the bottom level, and that really does allow a lot more train activity, and I'm really pleased about this. It's the big bottleneck which I identified actually very early on, and I finally got it fixed. But this needs something else to go on here. Now we're going to have the water feature. It is coming, I do promise you. And that's going to have quite a dramatic waterfall here at the front. And what I want to do with this is I've got to give it a purpose. You can't just have a huge raging torrent of water that ends and goes nowhere at all, because again, that's going to be one of those niggly little things that just bothers you. So what I'm looking to do here is I've got a little shelf in front of the layout. Now this used to take a whole load of switches back before Wear Yard went fully digital with the point control. There was a whole series of switches that you would operate to take control of the point work in that part of the yard. Now that was all swept away when the ADS units went in. But the little shelf has remained. There's no point in taking out that little bit of wood. But what it has given me the idea of is that it's actually a lower level than the main baseboard. Now, I've always gone on about how, if I'd have rebuilt Wear Yard from scratch, I wouldn't have just built most of the track directly onto the baseboard. And here's the reason why. Because it really does put you in a straitjacket. Help! When it comes to things like water features. But this little shelf is an ideal opportunity to kind of cheat a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make this scenic. So it is a little bit of an extension to the baseboards here, but what it's going to serve is a really important function. It allows a little bit of an embankment going down below the track level, and it also means that I can have a stream bed that goes, well, at least appears to go under the track, meeting up with where that waterfall is going to go. And that is going to make sure that there's no niggly little thing where you go, that doesn't look quite right. So in today's video, I'm going to concentrate on this area. It's one of the last things left that is stopping me from doing the water pour. And it's really, really something I love doing, water effects, and certainly casting resin for water. It's great, great fun. But you really need to make sure that everything is ready for it. There's no point in me mixing up resin and starting to cast the water at the top when I haven't finished the stream bed at the bottom. I want to do one pour, one and done, and everything go in at the same time. So that's why I'm going to focus on this little area. It also is going to mean that the two tracks in the cutting right at the front of the baseboard will be, to all intents and purposes, fully scenic. And this is going to allow me to take photographs and also to do a bit of video work as well, as I take a little bit of time out from the rebuild to film a few reviews as well. So today's video is going to be all about that little diorama feature, preparing for the water to be poured in a future episode. As we go through this, I'd love to hear from you in the comment section down below. How's your rebuild going? Have you taken on board any of the techniques that I've used up to now? Have you taken any ideas away from what I've been doing and applied them to your own build? Or maybe you're building a layout from scratch and perhaps learning from the mistakes that I'm now undoing. Do let me know. Always great to hear from you. And of course, as always, do please hit that like button, consider sharing to social media, and subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. It's a really great way of supporting us as we head on through this exciting build. But come with me, I'm really excited to get on with the next stage of the build. Today's video comes in association with Tramfabriek, makers of DCC decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Find the full range available to order now at tramfabriek.co.uk. We're proud to be supported by TMC, the Model Centre, your first choice for new and used. Pre-order all forthcoming models with confidence, or check out the extensive listings of second-hand. Each model is checked by experts in the field to make sure you're getting the very best. With new models uploaded daily, there's always something new to find. You can also specify from their value weathering and renumbering service right through to bespoke graffiti to get exactly the model that you want. Get something special today by browsing at themodelcentre.com. On the model, I've done an awful lot with static grass. We've got the scenic flower tufts from War World Scenics. I used the yellow and the kind of purpley ones to great effect on Mynydh Tatus Newydd. I still had a pack of red ones, so they were the colour that I chose. And I've tried to go for some red accents on some of the really fine scatters that I've done on the static grass. This is the technique that I've shown you time and time again, with the paintbrush just pulling back some of the static grass from the scree and the rocks that are underneath to give this kind of patchy look, which is exactly what you would find on mountainous areas where there isn't really much soil, so vegetation struggles to cling right on. It's blended everything into the older rock face that's being retained, and that's something that's quite important, to blend the new into the old. The Celtic cross is a scenic feature that's made it across from the old Jablite mountain, and here it's more of a memorial to presumably the navvies who died whilst making the tunnels. And I've done much the same over here. We've got just a little memorial to the navvies lost, and that is also complemented by one of the stags. This was a 3D printed model that featured a long time ago from Mill Hill, as I'm now calling it, and there's his partner up there too. Some of the little features like this are just nice to port across, so we've got some continuity of the old in the new. Up here, the waterfall area has taken on a nice kind of rugged, rocky look. This is going to get a water feature, and there's a tarn just down there. It might not look like much of a tarn on the camera, but there is a bit of depth to it. So I'm going to use the deep pour casting resin to great effect there. And again, a little bit more through here. And it's going to be a tough one just to make sure that we don't have too much water. But that's all part of the fun for the water feature episode. I've blended in the bottom of the rock faces with a little bit of that alpine meadow static grass, and then I ballasted the track, but only at the sides. And the reason for this is, again, back to when I do the water, I want to have a kind of barrier to stop that from creeping away. And the best way to do that is to do the ballast, and I used some of the Deluxe Materials liquid ballast adhesive, which is again another great product. I love this. It's ready to use. There's no messing about. It doesn't wash your ballast away. And again, not sponsored, not provided with any free samples or anything. It's just a really good product, which I wholeheartedly recommend. There's a few little detail pieces that have made it across from the old layout with some of these gradient markers and the 60 mph sign, which will get another coat of yellow. That does look a bit washed out, and the ballasting does continue underneath the bridge. Again, I've just done that one side, and until I've done the water feature, which is down here, then I won't bother with any of the ballast. That's kind of one of the final things to do. I can't really get on with the water effects until I've made the bridge and, more importantly, done something here, because I'm going to be using some of the casting resin to represent actually some deep water in this area. This used to be a small shelf that held switches. Back in the early days of Wear Yard, there were banks of switches on here, and all the points were completely analog through a CDU, and these were the switches for the points that were off to the right hand side. They were then replaced by ADS units, and this shelf, switches got taken away, and just it stayed here. It became somewhere that packets of tissues would be left on, or magnetic wands. But I'm actually going to now incorporate it into the main layout as part of the scenics, and the idea of this is that I can actually represent below track bed. Even though the track is laid directly onto the baseboards, this gives me the option that, at least at the front here, there's a suggestion that the world goes underneath it, and I'm going to have the bridge and the water coming out, and I'm going to make it quite a deep pour of water, because I think that that's going to be an interesting feature. I will find some detritus to put at the bottom of the water just to add some visual interest, but that needs doing before I start mixing up casting resin. So I made a duplicate of the piece that I put in at the other side, and what I've done here is I've already gone ahead and loosely marked out where I want this to go. Now, the baseboard themselves actually overhangs the structure of the framing underneath, so I can cut away into this and just help what effect I want to achieve. I've got a jigsaw here. No, it's not a 1000-piece Waddington's puzzle, but I've got my trusty Black & Decker, and I'm going to just use this to cut away some of this wood. Let's just work this out. Now, this is going to be a little bit lower on this side than it is on the other. The reason for this is that I don't actually want the wood being visible. And I've also got, this is left over from a previous project, one of these West Hill Wagon Works bridge girder centre supports. It was a 2-pack. I used one on a diorama build, and I've been hoarding this for so long, and I think this is a great product. The detail on it is incredible, and what I actually want to do is look to use it as some of the underside material of the bridge. So I'll be gluing this in and give it a quick coat of paint, and then build up the landform around it so that everything fits in and it gives a suggestion of what's going on underneath the bridge, or maybe even move this further back underneath. So there's lots of things I can do. Actually, I think that kind of works better, moving it further back, and then I'll be using some of the jab light that was salvaged from scenery that's been taken up to create the landform in this area. Right, I found my super glue, and unfortunately the top sticks on, so I can't really... Hold on. Unfortunately, when you break it free, the nozzle is welded into one piece, so I'm going to use an old screwdriver just to dip in there, and then I'm going to just coat the top here with some super glue. Hold that there for a moment, try and get that to stick in to the wood, and as things progress that should get stuck in by other materials as well. With it all in place, I've given it a quick coat of the same colour paint, letting that dry, and then I've had a rummage through the scrap box, and I found these. They're actually spare doors from an engine shed kit that I built ages ago, and I've scribed in brick courses. They were originally just wooden planking, but I've turned them into brick courses because I don't have any brick type material, and I'm going to be using these as the underside walls of the culvert. I'm going to look now to doing the jablite pieces, and got the hot wire cutter ready and waiting. And this is a scrap piece that came from underneath the scenery, so let's just size it up. I'm going to need a couple of pieces, I think. That looks alright. And there's going to be another layer on top that needs trimming up. And what I'm going to use for this is some of the speed bond and just start gluing these pieces into place. A lot of this will be made a lot neater once I get on to using the plaster bandage. And I'm just going to slice some of this at an angle. I'm going to start creating the landform, I think, just to add some structural stability. I'm going to glue a little piece of an offcut just across here as well. So I'm going to get the girder glued in and just fill in around here. I'm going to experiment with the pieces that I've scribed, trying to get the brickwork in. I'm going to paint that black at the back, and then ultimately I'm going to get the plaster bandage on. That'll set fairly quickly and get it painted, and then I can move on to getting some static grass in here, ballast the track, and get ready for the resin pour. Additional support is provided by...
This is Clark Railworks, and this is what we do. You'll know us from Ellis Clark Trains, and you'll get the same friendly expertise with us too. We've got a huge range of pre-owned model railways from all your favourite manufacturers, and maybe some you hadn't heard of before. It's the place to come for quality. We don't stock substandard models, and everything we sell is fully tested and photographed by model railway experts. No matter whether you model double O gauge, N, HO or more, we have sought after models from all around the world with new listings added every weekday. Check out what's available now at clarkrailworks.com and don't miss out on your latest logo.
Everything now is really quite rigid. The shelf doesn't move anymore. Now you'll have also seen I swapped out those scribed bits and pieces that I'd found in my spares box. I actually found some resin walling, so you know what, let's not waste it. Cut it in half with a Dremel, that's gone in as well. And I need to now build up the stream bed. I've painted right at the back in black, so it's much less obtrusive. Hopefully it'll just look like shadows under the bridge. And I've got some of the ready rocks. These were salvaged from the old Jablite Mountain, and they fragmented a bit when they came off, so I'm going to try and use these three pieces, glue them into the stream bed, and these will form part of the basis of the base of the stream. And I've also got some other gravel to fit in around it, and I'll use some ballast bond liquid adhesive just to get all that in place. Whilst that's drying, I can then get on with the painting and grassing of these slopes. I've added a bit of detritus into the riverbed, but I just realised I've used some masking tape to mask off the track, the bridge girder and the riverbed itself, and what I'm looking to do now is use my Progress applicator, and the reason I've switched up to this is because I can fit the really big mesh and use the really long static grass to start to fill in this area here. I've got some of the really long grass. I need to mix this up a little bit. I've essentially gone for the longer fibres rather than majoring on a particular colour. What I'm going to be doing now is I need to find my basing glue. This is again from War World Scenics, and this is the really important first step. It's just really a case of putting a load onto the area that we're wanting to cover. I'm not doing it right up to the track, it must be said. Let's just find a brush, and I'm just going to make sure that we get all of this covered. Now it's in for the static grass applicator. So we're going in for the layering spray now. Again, building up a thick layer of really unruly static grass is the plan here. And as you can see, the masking tape just stops this from going into your track, which believe me is quite tricky to get out from there. So I've got the two greens. Let's get some yellows in here. The yellows, the brighter colours, are much more like flowers. And this is the secret. This is very much the secret of static grass. I've got some red here. This isn't in a pot. I've got this in a little bag. The secret of good static grass is different colours, different fibre lengths, and it's this stage, the flowers. It looks a bit garish at the moment, but don't worry, that's where the next layer of static grass is all about. Bringing back the big static grass applicator, and then this will mute all those colours down. But I can see that we're building up a nice thickness of quite big fibres. Back once again, and I'm going to give this one final going over, and a little bit of some of the greens. Not too much, less is more, less is more. There we go. And perhaps a tiny amount of the dark green. Now, I'm going to move on to this little area here. There's not much to do. So, got all this done. It looks a bit weird, and we've only tackled a small area, but there's a lot that needs to dry, and then I'm going to be moving straight on to the water. But this is really quite important. Actually, now I'm going to do some ballasting after I've hoovered the track, and this will all start to come together. With ballast added and the liquid ballast bond adhesive gone down as well, it really does look a lot better under here. I've finally got a scene that looks something right, and I've added a few extra little details in. So the trig point just down here for surveyors, although Zoe immediately said, oh, it's a gravestone, and yes, it does come from the Scaledale gravestone pack, but I just thought that that's a kind of obelisk that would be perfect for other uses, so that's what I'm saying it is. Looking back through the bridge, all of the track back there has now been ballasted. There will be a weathering wash applied once everything is all dry, just to darken down some of the track as well. But again, we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. Down here on the stream bed, I have glued in a piece of clear plastic. Now, this isn't a forever piece. It will get peeled out once the water is cast, but there's no point in doing that. We've talked about this time and time again. If you try and cast the resin straight over something that's damp, then you'll get cloudiness, and it just doesn't work. So I'm going to be leaving this for a couple of days now just to dry and harden off. In the stream bed too, I've added in some of the forest ground cover from Warworld Scenics. This will end up at the bottom of the water and just give a suggestion that there's lots of detritus down there. I may also go in with a weathering wash just to darken down some of that quite light stream bed. This is held in place with some of the liquid ballast bond, and that means that it won't float in the resin when that is eventually cast. But I've also added in some bushes. This is the Woodland Scenics underbush material. And then I've given it a quick blast of the static grass layering spray and some of those yellow flowers. And this just creates a kind of gorse bush effect, which I think works really well. I've done a bit of that as well up here, just under the bridge. I've still got to weather and paint up some of the walling that's gone in underneath there. This space under here, I'm going to have a camera in there, hopefully looking back along the rail line, so there's still things to work out. But all in all, I'm pretty pleased with what's happened in this area. It's a lot of work for what is a small amount of real estate, but you can see that it really has come together compared to when I started this video. And I know in the last video I billed this as probably being the water feature video, But, you know, things change. Roll with the punches. And I'm just quite happy with how all of this has gone on. If you've really enjoyed the video, we've got some affiliate links down below to take you to some of the products used from our affiliate TMC. That's a great way of adding some of these little projects to your own layout build. So there you see that with a little project at the front of your baseboard, you can very quickly give the illusion that there's a lot more depth to the real estate that you've got on your layout. I know a lot of people do build their tracks straight onto the baseboards. It's a really easy way of doing things, and actually in the vast majority of cases it's perfectly fine, but it can end up feeling a little flat. And that's why a little project just to build a tiny piece of baseboard at the front that's dropped down an inch or two can go a great way to fool the eye that there's actually much more depth to your layout than there really is. And as you've seen in this little type project, we've very quickly transformed what would otherwise be an edge of baseboard area, which probably wouldn't be the most photogenic, and the track would be quite close to that edge, so it just wouldn't be easy to get great shots there. That's transformed, and with that little bit of an embankment and the stream, not only does the waterfall feel like it's going somewhere, but I can get some really nice low shots of the trains running past, and that's exactly what I was aiming for from this area. But I'd love to hear from you guys. Leave a comment down below. Is this something maybe that you're looking to do on your own home layout, a little project like this, just to really add an extra dimension, particularly if you've got tracks that come quite close to the edge? Leave a comment down below, and also, as always, please like, share and subscribe if you haven't already done so. You can check us out at the link to Patreon, and we've also got the full merch store, including those very popular pin badges and low stock warning on the ochre badge. It's yellow for those people who don't speak posh. We've got less than 30 of them left, so we will be ordering the next colour, but if the ochre one is a must-have item, then you need to get your skates on, because once they're gone for good. But until next time, do take great care of yourself. Happy modelling. Bye for now. Today's video comes in association with Tramfabriek, makers of DCC decoders and accessories that are designed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. Find the full range available to order now at tramfabriek.co.uk. Additional support is provided by...
This is Clark Railworks, and this is what we do. You'll know us from Ellis Clark Trains, and you'll get the same friendly expertise with us too. We've got a huge range of pre-owned model railways from all your favourite manufacturers, and maybe some you hadn't heard of before. It's the place to come for quality. We don't stock substandard models, and everything we sell is fully tested and photographed by model railway experts. No matter whether you model double O gauge, N, HO or more, we have sought after models from all around the world with new listings added every weekday. Check out what's available now at clarkrailworks.com, and don't miss out on your latest logo.
We're proud to be supported by TMC, the Model Centre, your first choice for new and used. Pre-order all forthcoming models with confidence, or check out the extensive listings of second-hand. Each model is checked by experts in the field to make sure you're getting the very best. With new models uploaded daily, there's always something new to find. You can also specify from their value weathering and renumbering service right through to bespoke graffiti to get exactly the model that you want. Get something special today by browsing at themodelcentre.com. I'd like to thank everybody over on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to our Patreon heroes. Without you guys over on Patreon, we really wouldn't be able to keep making the video content that you see on this channel. And don't forget that you can also head on over to patreon.com/Jennifer Kirk and check out the different tiers of rewards. Thank you so much. You are absolute legends.